Chapter 581 to 590. Chen Shinran came back to her senses and looked at Jian Yun with a smile. Of course not. She lowered her head and drank some water. When she looked up again, her eyes flashed. I want to discuss something with you. What is it? Jian Yun was not interested in Chen Shinran's words. She was simply too bored and wanted to know why Chen Shinran was looking for her. Chen Shinran looked at Zhang Yang, who was sitting at another table and pretending to play games. In fact, he was eavesdropping. Her eyes flashed, and she deliberately lowered her voice. I'm afraid Miss Jian is unable to contact Hu Liancheng during this period of time. Jiang Yun stared at Chen Shinran and did not reply. Chen Shinran did not take it to heart. She elegantly pursed her lips and revealed a confident smile on her face. I can help you find out about Hu Liancheng. I can also help Hu Liancheng deal with Hu Chengfeng. Do you think I believe you? Jian Yun sneered. Besides, I don't need others to help me find out anything. I'm afraid Miss Jian is too early to say that. You might not know that the Liu family has the intention of letting Hu Liancheng and the Mu family marry each other. Chen Shinran narrowed her eyes. Her expression was a little twisted. She deliberately provoked Jian Yun and said, You should not be unfamiliar with the Mu family. Just like the Hu family, they are both wealthy families in the capital. The young lady of the Mu family is a golden branch and a jade leaf. She likes Hu Liancheng very much. Only she is worthy of Hu Liancheng. Chen Shinran had wanted to look for Jian Yun when she heard this news. She did not expect that she would coincidentally meet here today. How could she let go of this opportunity? Jian Yun heard her and knocked on the table. So, what does this have to do with you? Like I said, I can help Hu Liancheng return to Hu family and take back what belongs to him. But I have a condition. Chen Shinran suppressed her displeasure and said her goal step by step. Hu Liancheng was the first man she fell in love with, and also the last. That kind of man was like the moonlight on the ice mountain, and it was hard for her to forget for so many years. But no matter how much she begged him, or even bent to the ground, she would rather not have any status. As long as she could follow by his side, he would not look at her again, so heartless. Therefore, Chen Shinran was not willing to accept it, especially when she knew that Hu Liancheng actually fell in love with an ordinary woman who was inferior to her in every aspect. This kind of unwillingness and humiliation suddenly erupted. So she chased after them from thousands of miles away, wanting to sow discord between them. However, the result was that she was humiliated. However, the heavens had treated her well. Now, they had given her such a great opportunity. Therefore, she had to seize this opportunity. She had to obtain Hu Liancheng. Although Chen Shinran did not like Jian Yun very much, she could only rely on Jian Yun to get close to Hu Liancheng. She saw very clearly that Hu Liancheng loved Jian Yun very much. With his temper, he was a man of his word. However, he only treated Jian Yun gently. Therefore, if she wanted to stay by his side, she could only seek a breakthrough from Jian Yun. What condition? Jian Yun asked. I will help you contact Hu Liancheng and stop the marriage between him and Mu Wanru. In return, I hope you can convince him to let me stay by his side. Chen Shinran said in a deep voice. Stay by his side? What for? Secretary? Or Mo? Jian Yun raised her eyebrows and sneered. Although she knew that Chen Shinran definitely did not have a pure motive, she did not expect Chen Shinran to be so shameless. In front of a legal wife, she openly asked to share a man. Miss Jian understands what I mean. When Chen Shinran heard Jian Yun mention the words Mo, her face still revealed a touch of embarrassment. But when she thought about the man she loved to the bone, she thought about how she could get closer to him from now on, and even do intimate things with him. She felt all the blood in her body heat up. All the embarrassment and humiliation were thrown to the back of her mind. Are you done? You can leave now. Jian Yun saw Chen Shinran's determined look and sneered in her heart. She finally understood why Hu Liancheng did not take a liking to Chen Shinran. This woman did not understand Hu Liancheng's temper at all. A man like him could be easily controlled by others? Chen Shinran actually deluded herself of 2 female servants and 1 husband. Truly laughable. Furthermore, for Jian Yun herself, she would rather divorce than live that kind of humiliating life. Miss Jian will not consider it. If Hu Liancheng really marries Mo Wanru, with the Mu family's power, they won't allow you to stay by Hu Liancheng's side. Chen Shinran held the cup tightly and stared at Jian Yun. She thought Jian Yun must be very anxious these few days and came to tell her this was the best time to do so. But she did not expect Jian Yun to be unwilling. Chen Shinran's heart was nameless, and her words were not polite. Your husband wants to marry another woman. You are not sad, Are you not angry? Jian Yun looked at Chen Shinran, and the corners of her mouth curled into a mocking sneer. You also know that that is my husband? You are so openly telling me that you want to be my husband's woman. Why don't you ask me if I am angry or not? Quickly ask me. This way I will tell you that I want to hit you now. Zhang Yang, who had been eavesdropping, laughed rudely. Chen Shinran's face was red and white. Her red lips were tightly bitten. Her eyes were full of hatred and anger. Her nails were pinched into her palms. It was enough to imagine how angry she was now. Jian Yun, don't be so proud of yourself. I want to see how long you can be proud of yourself. Don't think that you can rest easy just because Hu Liancheng loves you now. With your family background and status, you are not worthy of Hu Liancheng. Neither Liao family nor Hu family can tolerate you. I will wait for the day you are kicked out of the house. Chen Shinran slammed the table and stood up abruptly. You don't have to worry about that. Even if Hu Liancheng and I do not reach the end, I am still stronger than you. At least I have been valued by him. I have put my heart on the tip for so many years. I am not like you. It's a loser from the beginning to the end. Jian Yun's expression was not a smile. Although she was sitting, her aura completely suppressed Chen Shinran, who was so angry that she lost control of herself. What she said was also infuriating. You. Chen Shinran was almost angered to death. What Jian Yun said was right. Compared to Jian Yun, she was a loser. Speaking of which, Chen Shinran had been with Hu Liancheng for a period of time. But at that time, she deliberately approached Hu Qingcheng and used Hu Qingcheng to get close to Hu Liancheng. She desperately chased after him. He was annoyed by her and could not do anything about it. Or rather, he only agreed to go out with her to deal with Hu Qingcheng. At that time, she was overjoyed and wished that the whole world knew about this news. However, in less than 3 months, he had proposed to break up, and the reason was that there was no common ground. They had not seen each other many times in 3 months, and he had called him 10 times, but no one had answered his phone 8 times. He did not even have the most basic communication. How could they have any common language? Not to mention intimate things like sex in the human world. But how could Chen Shinran admit that being with Hu Liancheng was just her wishful thinking? What right do you have to say that to me? Are you valued by him? She continued, what a joke. When I was with him, I was also cherished by him like this. Men are fond of new and hate old. I will end up the same as you. I want to see how long you can be proud of yourself. Chen Shinran saw that there were people around looking over. She gritted her teeth and sat down again. It was just that she did not deliberately look like she wanted to be on good terms with Jian Yun. Instead, she was replaced by ruthlessness and disdain. She was originally ridiculously thin. Her cheeks and eye sockets were sunken. Her gaze was unkind and made her look mean. Jian Yun shrugged indifferently. I will not be proud of myself for long, but I am also longer than you. You. Chen Shinran saw that Jian Yun was not willing to go in and did not know what Jian Yun was thinking for a moment. Logically speaking, Jian Yun should not be so calm. The man she loved deeply was going to marry someone else. Could it be that she did not care at all? Or did she not love Hu Liancheng at all? Impossible. Chen Shinran immediately denied this possibility. She recalled how Jian Yun and Hu Liancheng looked when they were together at the Zheng family. A woman in love could not be fooled by her eyes. She definitely loved Hu Liancheng very much. Then, there was only one possibility. Jian Yun was pretending to be calm? Chen Shanran thought for a while and told herself to calm down. But when she saw Jian Yun's mocking face, she could not remain calm. Fortunately, that thought in her heart gained the upper hand and forcefully suppressed her anger. Miss Jian, I think that you should consider it. We should not be enemies now, because we are about to have a common enemy. I know that you love Hu Liancheng very much. However, Hu Liancheng is in a dire situation now. The Hu family is now under that man's control, and Hu Liancheng must borrow the Mu family's power to take back everything he has. You don't want him to be penniless and lose everything, do you? Chen Shinran softened her tone and decided to change her angle to persuade Jian Yun. He lost everything. I will take care of him. That's right. Hu family? Isn't it just money? I don't even care about it. Hu Liancheng also doesn't like it. Jian Yun curled her lips and smiled maliciously. She just did not want to answer Chen Shinran's words. Chen Shinran was once again speechless. That breath in her chest made her want to scream. How do you know Hu Liancheng doesn't like money? You are not him. He didn't even tell you about the Hu family. You don't even know how lewd he used to be. Now that he says he likes you, how do you know that he has never said such things to other women before? How many women has he loved in his heart? You probably won't be able to guess it. Even that miss of the Mu family had a relationship with him. Chen Xinran was furious. She began to speak without thinking. She just couldn't stand Jian Yun's calm look. She really wanted to tear Jian Yun's face apart and cut open her heart to see how she hid her calmness. Was she pretending to be calm now? Actually, she was already in pain and wailing. Also, I slept with him back then. I'm afraid that even you can't imagine the tricks we tried. Chen Xinran deliberately added another sentence. There were not many people in this milk tea shop, and the seat that Jian Yun chose was in the corner. Other than the man who just sat with Jian Yun and looked like a bodyguard, there was no one around, so she did not need to worry about being heard. Then you must not be very skilled. Otherwise, why would he not want you? Jian Yun smiled wickedly. She would not be provoked by Chen Xinran's words. Facing a big boss like Liao Shibing, she could be at ease. Chen Xinran was just an ordinary person. If Chen Xinran only said that she slept with Hu Liancheng, Jian Yun could still believe it. Previously, she was angry because of this jealousy, and even had a cold war with Hu Liancheng. However, Chen Xinran actually randomly spread rumors that a man like Hu Liancheng, who had a very serious obsession with cleanliness, slept with a woman outside. This was laughable. Chen Xinran also did not expect Jian Yun to look quiet and have a good temper. When she spoke, she actually spoke so rudely. At that time, she was so angry that her eyes turned black. Chen Xinran still remembered that she had only taken the initiative to kiss Hu Liancheng once, from their relationship until their breakup. It was she who took the initiative to sneak up on him when he was not prepared, but she only kissed the corner of his mouth. At that time, he was clearly unhappy, but he did not push her away. It seemed like he wanted to continue as well. Her heart was beating like a drum. She thought that he would deepen this kiss. Just when she wanted to close her eyes sweetly, she saw his brows slowly knit together. That feeling was like she had a stench on him. He had a completely patient expression on his face, and very quickly pushed her away. However, at that time, she had clearly breathed out a fresh breath of fragrance, and had even specially drunk lemon water. It was absolutely impossible for her to have a foul breath. Chen Xinran now thought about it and felt embarrassed. Then she would not have the chance to kiss him again in the future. Until the week before he proposed to break up, she still remembered very clearly that she tested him and suggested to go to the hotel. He thought about it and actually agreed. God knows how nervous and excited she was at that time. To be able to do that kind of thing with the man she loved, that kind of sweet feeling that sped up her heart, made her float in the air. However, the more she looked forward to it, the more disappointed she was. She knew that Hu Liancheng was usually cold and indifferent. He did not like to have too much physical contact with people. That night, even if he had a reaction, he did not have many foreplay. She didn't care about all this. As long as she could be with him, she could do anything. However, when she was ready, he went in as well. However, just like the time she kissed him, he quickly frowned and didn't move. It was as if this body made him feel disgusted. "I'm sorry." That was the last thing he said. Then he put on his clothes and left, leaving her alone in the presidential suite of the hotel, letting the humiliation and embarrassment drown her. The next few days, she felt that time was very long. Pride and self-esteem did not allow her to take the initiative to contact him. But every minute was torture to her. She loved him. She felt that he had chosen her from all the women who loved him. It must be because he had a good impression of her. So as long as she continued to work hard, she would definitely break his frozen heart. A week later, he called her to break up on the grounds that he was unable to get along with her and had no common ground. At that time, she also wanted to be angry, so she agreed. She thought that he would coax her, but other than that, he said, "I will make it up to you." He did not say anything else. After that, it would be very difficult for her to get close to him. In school, she could only watch from afar. He would not allow her to get close to him. She regretted it. She really regretted it. She hated her own greed. If she had not been possessed and wanted to develop a deeper relationship with him, she could have at least maintained a subtle relationship with him. However, there was no medicine for regret in the world. Even if Chen Xinran desperately tried to salvage this relationship, there was nothing she could do. After that, Hu Liancheng went to the army to train for 2 years. When he came back, he graduated and then left the country. Chen Xinran could only hear what happened after from the news or friends' mouths. She had never seen him again. However, she could not forget that if she did not have this man in the past, she might still have thought in her heart. It was because she once had this man that she became even more greedy. She wanted more. Even though that kiss back then was like a dragonfly brushing against the water, it made her remember the smell of his body forever. The breath he breathed out was so good, it made people's blood boil. And that night in the hotel, she went from excitement to anxiety and disappointment. Actually, if Jian Yun knew what Hu Liancheng did to Chen Xinran, she would definitely scold him for being a scumbag. He did not like Chen Xinran. He even went to the hotel with her, went in and out, and even ran away. This behavior was too scumbag. But to Chen Xinran from the beginning until the end, she did not hate Hu Liancheng. She only blamed herself for not being good enough and not being able to attract him. That instant of entry also became her eternal memory. This kind of thought grew like wild grass all these years, tightly binding her heart. She could not walk out and could only desperately climb up. She wanted to be the most dazzling star in the world. She thought that this way, he would be able to see her, and she would be able to approach him again. However, all of her efforts and thoughts were like a balloon flying into the sky when she saw the news of Hu Liancheng getting married. It exploded. "Miss Chen, don't make your friend worry." Xian Yun suddenly felt that it was very boring. She lifted her chin and signaled Chen Xinran. That blonde, blue-eyed, and handsome foreign man walked over. Chen Xinran lowered her head as if she was trying hard to calm herself down. Xian Yun looked at the orange juice that she had drunk halfway and felt a little sick. Suddenly, she did not want to drink anymore and got up. "I'm leaving." Chen Xinran still did not give up and stood up. "Miss Jian, I still hope that you can consider it." Xian Yun looked at her deeply and did not say a word. She turned around and left without hiding the ridicule and coldness in her eyes. Sang Yong immediately followed behind her. In the shop, Weissen walked to Chen Xinran's side, but his eyes looked at Jian Yun's back outside the door. "Annie? Is she Hu's wife?" Chen Xinran sat down dejectedly and nodded tiredly. "She's very beautiful." Weissen sat on Jian Yun's seat just now. The smile on his face was very faint. His green eyes looked at Chen Xinran, but shone with an inexplicable light. He said, "What did you talk about with her just now? You guys don't seem to be happy." "It's none of your business." Chen Xinran was in a bad mood, and her tone was not good either. Weissen did not mind. He said, "You asked me out today, isn't it because of Hu Liancheng?" Chen Xinran's fingers froze. She bit her lower lip, and her tone softened. "Weissen, aren't you friends with him? Don't you want to help him?" Weissen shrugged. He said, "Based on my understanding of Hu, helping him is an insult to him." "What do you mean?" Chen Xinran frowned and did not understand. As far as she knew, the Hu family was now under Hu Chengfeng's control. At the same time, she also spread the news to the outside world. He was not only Hu Liancheng's half-brother. His father was Hu Xiangqian's half-brother. Therefore, he was Old Master Hu's grandson. It sounded complicated, but it shocked everyone. In this way, Hu Chengfeng's status was very noble. The Hu family had a tradition of the eldest son inheriting the family business. Old Master Hu did not know why he did not say anything, as if he had tacitly approved of Hu Chengfeng's identity. According to the current situation, this matter was very disadvantageous to Hu Liancheng, because even his biological parents did not support him. Weissen did not explain further. He was slightly interested in Chen Xinran, but this woman was too cold and clearly liked Hu Liancheng. He tried to express goodwill to Chen Xinran several times, but Chen Xinran ignored him. He also did not have the patience. Today, however, he saw Hu Liancheng hiding his wife very well. The corner of Wilson's mouth curled up into a smile. He reached out to cover his chest. He felt as if he had been shot in the heart. Xian Yun came out of the milk tea shop. Sang Yong gave her a thumbs up at that time. Ms. Jian is really good at scolding people. That model lady can't control her expression anymore. You know her? Jian Yun asked. I was bored and took a photo of her. I searched online. Sang Yong grinned. You are so bored. Xian Yun rolled her eyes. I am very bored. Zhang Yang pursed his lips and stretched his arms to stretch his muscles. I'm a bitch. I've been working on a big case for several months. I can't live a good life outside. Sometimes I just sleep in the car for one night. I eat bread and instant noodles for 3 meals a day. At that time, I thought that when the case is solved, I must sleep well for 3 days and 3 nights. Then I will take a month off and go out to relax. Speaking of this, Zhang Yang glanced at Jian Yun and continued. But when I really rest, I feel uncomfortable all over. I feel like my bones are itching. Just scratch me if you feel itchy, Jian Yun said coldly. Ha, ha, Zhang Yang laughed. Miss Jian, actually, I think I know why young Master Hu likes you. Do you know him? Xian Yun glanced at Zhang Yang. Not really. I've only seen him a few times in the Liao family. Zhang Yang seemed to be very interested in this topic. My mom has some relations with the Liao family, but she's not close to them. I work under Division Chief Liao. Sometimes, whenever there's a gathering in the Liao family, they would ask me to attend. Xian Yun nodded and did not say anything. She just walked forward aimlessly. Zhang Yang was a chatterbox. Xian Yun had ignored him for the past few days. He could also chat with the maids in the Hu family. Today, he finally had the chance to talk to Jian Yun. He would not let go of this opportunity. Actually, there are some things that you might not know. Zhang Yang really liked Jian Yun. Although they had only known each other for a few days, he felt that Jian Yun's character was really good. She was pretty and kept a low profile. Moreover, the servants of Hu family had high opinions of this young madam. He wanted to give her a few words. I don't know too many things. Xian Yun also knew that Hu Liancheng hid a lot of things from her. In the past, she had thought about why he did not take her to see his family and friends, and would rather stay with her in a place like King Hu. After these things happened, she understood that his situation was far from being as glorious as the outside world knew. Zhang Yang did not mind Jian Yun's coldness. He suddenly said in a deep voice, You should have heard about the Hu family as well. Then, have you ever thought about how Hu Chengfeng was so arrogant for so many years? Why didn't old Master Hu control him, despite knowing that it might be a hidden danger? Why didn't he even let him go? Xian Yun heard him and stopped in her tracks. She turned to look at Zhang Yang. She had heard too much about the Hu family recently, but it was mostly about Hu Liancheng's situation. She had also wondered about old Master Hu's status and ability, even though she had only met him once. However, it was impossible for old Master Hu to just sit by and watch the internal strife in the family. However, she had placed all her attention on Hu Liancheng, so she did not think too much about it. Could it be that there was some secret inside? Zhang Yang saw that Jian Yun was interested, and he did not keep it in suspense. He said, Because there are very few children in the Hu family. For hundreds of years, there has only been one child in each generation. This phenomenon only applies to the Hu parents' room, the family that inherited the position of the family head. There is such a thing? Jian Yun frowned. Zhang Yang shrugged. Some people said they were cursed. Some people said it was superstitious, but in any case, there had always been only one man in the Hu family house. But it was an indisputable fact. Before Hu Zihui married the Liao family, he had a fiancée. His family also did business. However, he couldn't compare with the Hu family. However, the Hu family wasn't as rich as they were now. That woman and Hu Zihui were childhood sweethearts, and they had a very good relationship. However, when Hu Zihui fell in love with the eldest daughter of the Liao family, he broke off the engagement with that woman. To the public, he only said that the woman was a servant of his family. Because he had proposed to that woman privately, not many people knew about this matter. Moreover, what the outside world knew was only the love history of the rich. Then, it was the marriage between the Liao and Hu families. With the support of the Liao family, the Hu family had grown stronger over the years. Soon, their family had accumulated a lot of assets and gradually migrated some of their assets overseas. At that time, Hu Zihui was probably already planning for Hu Chengfeng. About 10 years ago, Hu Chengfeng suddenly appeared. After that, the Hu family was no longer peaceful. It was only then that the old mistress realized that the woman was pregnant. Hu Zihui arranged for her to marry someone and give birth to a child. It was just that the child was weak and sickly, but it was very talented and attracted a proud daughter like Shen Fangqi. Later on, I think you should know that the two brothers fell in love with the same woman. Jian Yun's eyes darkened. So, the reason why Hu Chengfeng was able to gradually grow his wings and be able to cover the sky in hues was actually all because of old Master Hu's acquiescence. Zhang Yang gave Jian Yun a thumbs up and smiled. Smart? So many years, only Hu Zihui has 2 sons. One can imagine how much importance he will attach to this bloodline. Zhang Yang added, then shrugged his shoulders. With a face full of disdain, he said, However, he's afraid of offending the Liao family. After all, the He family is unable to leave the Liao family today. He continued. That's why he kept it a secret and pretended to not care about anything, and let Shen Fangqi take the blame. Madame Shen is young Master Hu's birth mother. Young Master Hu can't do anything to her, so he endured it all these years. It sounds complicated. Jian Yun let out a breath. She did not know why Zhang Yang wanted to tell her these things, but it did not sound fake. However, no matter what his purpose was, it solved some of the doubts in her heart. Wealthy families are trouble. So the lives of commoners are more comfortable. Zhang Yong smiled meaningfully. Isn't there a rumor that old Master Hu went missing this time? Is it also related to Hu Chengfeng? Xian Yun asked. Who else? Zhang Yong suddenly sneered. His originally heroic face was full of ridicule. He said, Old Master Hu would never have thought that the ingrate he raised would bite back. He thought he had done enough, but the ingrate did not appreciate it at all. Instead, he felt that old Master Hu was in his way. He thought old Master Hu owed him, so the entire Hu family should be his. Xian Yun was silent. She remembered what Hu Chengfeng said when he went to school to look for her. That man was full of hostility. The more he got, the more greedy he was. But then Jian Yun frowned and looked at Zhang Yong suspiciously. How do you know so much? Zhang Yong laughed. Didn't I just say that my mother was related to the Liao family? The old lady of the Liao family liked my mother very much. These things were heard by my mother from the old lady of the Liao family. I see. Xian Yun narrowed her eyes. She suddenly felt like a fool. No matter who it was, she did not know them at all. She still needed to find out from others. As if he knew what Jian Yun was thinking, Zhang Yong smiled and continued. The old master of Liao family, old General Liao Zongrong, is the founding general. He is 99 years old this year. He has 2 sons and 1 daughter. He continued. His daughter is old Madame Hu. One of Liao Zongrong's sons is in the army, and the other is in politics. Liao Zongrong has reached this age. You don't need me to tell you about his status. I won't say his name. Just look at the news and you will know. Xian Yun heard Zhang Yong introduce the Liao family and roughly understood who the people in the Liao family were. Generally speaking, the Liao family was very powerful. They had 4 generals in their family, not to mention the high-ranking officials in other departments, and the elites from all walks of life. It could be said that this was the true wealthy class. It was not comparable to a wealthy class family like the Hu family, which was just a pile of money. It was no wonder that old Master Hu wanted to marry the Liao family. The benefits he and the Hu family had obtained from this marriage was immeasurable. Now the problem was here. Old Master Hu was secretly indulging Hu Chengfeng. It was obvious that he had offended the Liao family. Would the Liao family attack the Hu family? Now, it all depended on Granny Liao's attitude. However, Liao Shibing had also said that the entire Hu family only recognized Hu Liancheng. It seemed like the Liao family had given up on the Hu family. She just didn't know why they wanted Hu Liancheng to marry the Mu family. Since they didn't care about the Hu family, why did they want to ally with the Mu family? The Mu family wasn't any better than the Hu family. Is Miss Jian wondering why the Liao family wanted Hu Liancheng to marry the young miss of the Mu family? Zhang Yong seemed to know how to read minds. Looking at Jian Yun's expression, he knew what she was thinking. Jian Yun touched her face for some reason. Is it that obvious? Haha, no. It's just that I went to university to study criminal psychology. After dealing with criminals for so many years, I especially know how to read people's minds. Zhang Yong quickly waved his hand and realized that what he said was not right. He quickly corrected himself. Miss Jian, I am just making an analogy. I am not saying that you are a criminal. Xian Yun rolled her eyes. She naturally did not mind. Furthermore, she now had a feeling that Zhang Yong seemed to be deliberately telling her these things. Do you know the Liao family's intention? Guess. I know how to guess people's hearts the most. Now that great-grandfather has retired, he doesn't need to be in charge anymore. All of them are in charge of the Liao family's boss, while Boss Liao is the most stubborn. He keeps his word. Young Master Hu has never been close to his parents since he was young. Old Lady Hu has always let the Liao family raise him. Boss Liao taught him personally because he wanted to arrange for young Master Hu to join the army. In the end, the Hu family didn't agree. Of course the Hu family wouldn't agree to let Hu Liansheng join the army, because he was the only heir to the Hu family. If he didn't inherit the family business, the Hu family would fall into someone else's hands. What happened after that? Xian Yun was also curious. According to what Zhang Yong said, if Boss Liao was so strong, he should keep his word. It didn't matter if the Hu family didn't agree or not, but it was mainly because of Hu Liansheng's attitude. After that, I don't know. Zhang Yong laughed. His expression was very annoying. He shrugged. I only heard that Boss Liao and young Master Hu's cooperation didn't succeed. As for the specifics, I'm an outsider after all. I don't know. Xian Yun could guess that Hu Liancheng looked very cold on the surface, but in fact, He really wanted the family affection from his parents. She guessed that he also had other considerations at that time. However, young Master Hu still gave in. He went to the army to train for 2 years. I heard Division Chief Liao mention once that young Master Hu's physique was very strong, and he was very calm and smart. He continued, if he could stay in the army, he would definitely be a great general. What a pity. Sang Yang sighed. Jian Yun crossed her arms and could not help but think of Hu Liancheng's handsome face. It turned out that his character was so cold and hard, and he was so self-disciplined. It was because he received military education from a young age. By the way, I have something to ask you. If I have offended you in any way, please don't mind. Sang Yang played with his phone and tilted his head. He looked at Jian Yun with a strange expression. What do you mean? Jian Yun saw Zhang Yang's expression and knew that what he wanted to ask was definitely not a good thing. But seeing that he had told her some things today, she decided not to mind. Zhang Yang touched the stubble on his chin. I just want to ask you, are you feeling bad after being questioned repeatedly that you are not worthy of him? Jian Yun heard him and suddenly stopped. A strange emotion flashed across her originally calm face, but that emotion was too fast. It was so fast that Zhang Yang, who was confident that he could read people's minds, did not have time to catch it. Oh, if it's not easy to answer, then there's no need to answer. Zhang Yang put his phone back into his pocket. Jian Yun suddenly said, Angry! What? Zhang Yang did not know what to say. I am very angry. Because I don't think I'm not good enough for him. Jian Yun turned her head and looked at Zhang Yang. Her dark eyes were rolling like paint, but at this moment, the dazzling sunlight fell into her eyes. There were bits of broken gold, and it was extremely dazzling. Other than my background, I have no other choice. I don't think I am lowly or worse than those rich people, so I am very angry when people say that. Jian Yun's voice was a little cold. It was clear and clear, like the thin frost on a winter tree. Zhang Yang felt that a cool breeze seemed to come from somewhere during the hot summer, and his somewhat hot heart instantly became clear. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked this. Zhang Yang suddenly felt a little ashamed. He would mention this because he wanted to see what Jian Yun's reaction was. He originally thought that he would see embarrassment and humiliation on her face, but he did not expect her to answer like this. He was angry. Those people's words really made him angry. It was as if they were born superior. It's fine. Jian Yun looked away and continued to walk forward. Zhang Yang followed closely behind. I still want to ask you something. Zhang Yang could not hold it in anymore. This time, he did not wait for Jian Yun to answer. He asked directly, You clearly know that I was sent to monitor you. Why didn't you chase me away? Jian Yun looked at Zhang Yang as if she was looking at an idiot. There is a police captain who is my free bodyguard. Why not? Zhang Yang's mouth twitched. This youngest police captain in history became a bodyguard just like that. 3 days later. This morning, Jian Yun went to work on time as usual. However, as soon as she stepped into the office building, she felt something was not right. People gathered in 2s and 3s. Each of them had a cell phone. They were whispering to each other. No one knew what they were talking about. When they saw Jian Yun coming over, those people quickly put away their mobile phones and looked at her strangely. Jian Yun could not help but furrow her brows. However, she was not in good spirits these days, and her body had a serious pregnancy and vomiting reaction. So she did not care what those people were talking about. She just smiled and walked towards her office. Jian Yun did not come early. Although the office door she was in was open, there was no one inside. Jian Yun put down her bag and saw a plate of fried dumplings on Yu Zhengyi's table. The greasy smell rushed over. She immediately felt disgusted and quickly covered her mouth to run to the washroom. The washroom was at the corner of the office. Jian Yun rushed in and retched a few times on the toilet, but nothing came out. It was just that her stomach was extremely uncomfortable, and her head was a little dizzy. She squatted down and planned to rest for a while before going out. Speaking of which, Jian Yun's pregnancy sickness reaction was relatively light during the day. That was why Jian Yun could hide it. When night came, she could not even drink water. She would spit out anything she ate. Jian Yun had not slept well for several nights. As Liao Shibing's deadline approached day by day, there was still no news from Hu Liancheng. No matter how calm Jian Yun was, she was starting to feel uneasy. The smell of incense in the washroom made Jian Yun dizzy. She got up and planned to go out. There was still a quarter of an hour before the bell rang. If she stayed any longer, she might be late. At this time, there was the sound of high heels stepping on the tiles outside. Someone walked in. There was more than one sound. These people were talking as they walked. Jian Yun suddenly stopped when she was pushing the door because she heard her name from the people who came in from behind. This man really can't be trusted. Change of heart is like flipping a book. He changed just like that. He helped Jian Yun out to punish the Feian family not long ago. At that time, we all said that Jian Yun has a man who is devoted to protecting her. She is really very lucky. They continued. Who would have thought that in less than half a month, he will have a new woman? That's right. The Feian family is not a good person to begin with, but their family business can also be ranked in the top 10 in King He. They continued. They were defeated by Hu Liancheng in just one night. Now that their family is in a mess, and they still owe a lot of money, we can offend anyone, but we can't offend Hu Liancheng. It's too scary. Let's get back to the main topic. We are talking about Jian Yun now. She came to work just now and looked very calm. I don't know if she didn't see the news or if she knew the news and pretended to be calm. She probably hasn't seen the news yet. The news only came out half an hour ago. At that time, she was still on her way to work. I don't envy her at all now. I even sympathize with her. She continued. How long has she been married? She's about to get a divorce. I guess Hu Liansheng is just trying to be fresh. He wants to play with her. It is possible. A rich person like Hu Liancheng is very handsome, and many women around him are fighting to climb the bed. But Hu Liancheng was taken care of by Jian Yun. It seems that Jian Yun's means are not weak. No matter how capable a woman is, she is going to get a divorce now. Moreover, the news of her marriage with Hu Liansheng was exposed. Everyone in the country knows about it. Just a second ago, she was very close to Hu Liansheng. Now that Hu Liancheng is going to marry the young lady of Mo family, wouldn't that be slapping Jian Yun's face? How pitiful. Look, the photos have been exposed. It was written by a famous reporter from a website. This news is very credible. Jian Yun is going to lose face this time. I don't know how she will react when she sees it later. I really want to go and watch. Those people's words were getting more and more unpleasant. Jian Yun's mind was buzzing like something had exploded. At this time, a voice came from outside the washroom. Jian Yun, are you inside? Class is about to start. Your phone was ringing just now. Sister Zhang saw that Jian Yun's bag and phone were in the office, but she was nowhere to be seen. She guessed that she was in the washroom. Because Jian Yun's phone had always been called, she came out to look for Jian Yun. When the women who were in the washroom heard Sister Zhang come to look for Jian Yun, they immediately stopped talking. First, they looked at each other. Then they all turned to look at the only closed door in horror. At this time, the door was slowly pushed open from the inside. Jian Yun calmly walked out, but her face was pale and her eyes were dark, as if there was no light at all. Jian Yun's face was expressionless. Her cold gaze swept past the few women in front of the mirror, and then she walked out of the washroom. Behind her, the few female teachers who were gossiping behind her were like ducks whose throats were choked. They felt a trace of fear in Jian Yun's bone-chilling gaze. Sister Zhang waited outside the washroom, and her expression was not very good. She had just come over and heard those people's words. It was just that she felt that those people had said that. There was no sound in the washroom and thought that Jian Yun was definitely not inside. She called out. She called out to make those people shut up. She did not expect Jian Yun to actually be inside and listen to others slander her like this. Jian Yun, don't listen to those people talking nonsense without basis. These people are immoral too. Sister Zhang did her best to comfort Jian Yun. Jian Yun lowered her head as if she did not hear Sister Zhang's words. She entered the office like a wandering soul and happened to hear her own phone ringing. She quickly picked it up, but found that it was Jian Dongming calling. Jian Yun hung up without thinking. Her fingers moved. Jian Yun was about to go to the news when a message entered her phone. The Crown Prince of Hu's and Miss Mel family are going to attend a cocktail party together. They will be engaged next month. The last bit of blood on Jian Yun's face faded in an instant. Her hands were shaking so badly that she could barely hold onto her phone. Jian Yun. Sister Zhang worriedly reached out to help Jian Yun up. Jian Yun seemed to be shocked. Her phone fell on the table. Jian Yun closed her eyes as if she was trying to calm herself down. When she opened her eyes again, she waved her hand and told Sister Zhang that she was fine. Then she picked up the phone and curled her fingers. In the end, she still opened the message. The first thing that entered Jian Yun's eyes was a large photo. In the photo, Hu Liancheng, who had not appeared for a long time, was dressed in a well-cut suit. He was as tall and handsome as usual. Beside him stood a young woman. The woman was very beautiful and had a gentle temperament. One look and one could tell that she was a young lady from a big family. Xian Yun saw that the woman's hand was in Hu Liancheng's arm. The two of them were very intimate. Hu Liancheng was leaning his head to the side and seemed to be talking to her. The corner of the woman's mouth was slightly raised and her expression was joyful. It should be that Hu Liancheng said something that made her very happy. Xian Yun's fingers slid down. There were a lot of pictures. It seemed that Hu Liancheng and Mu Wanru had never been separated from each other since the banquet started. Under the news, there was even a lot of fancy rhetoric about the marriage between the Hu family and the Mu family. Everyone was very optimistic about their marriage. The news also reported the engagement ceremony that was scheduled to be held a month later. The following comments were even more one-sided. They were all blessings and support for this handsome man and beautiful woman who had a very good family background and appearance. Almost no one mentioned that Hu Liancheng was already married. Most likely, everyone had tacitly agreed that Hu Liancheng and that mysterious civilian girl's wedding was definitely just for fun. Now that there was a socialite with a matching family background, he naturally dumped that girl a long time ago. Most people were laughing at Jian Yun. A wild chicken is a wild chicken. She actually wants to turn into a phoenix. How shameless. Young Master Hu never let that woman appear in public. I guess he doesn't care about her at all. Once he gets tired of playing with her, he will naturally throw her away. That kind of woman, just give her some money. Women from small families are not good enough. I heard that the woman's family situation is very bad. His father is a bad gambler, and his mother is a sickly woman. How can such a woman be worthy of the young master of Ho family? That's right. Miss Mu family graduated from a famous university and studied design. This kind of temperament is the first choice for a wealthy wife. She is very generous. That woman's name is Jian Jun, right? She must be hiding somewhere crying right now. It's pitiful. Xian Yun flipped through the comments one by one. She thought that her heart was already strong enough, but when she saw these unbearable comments, she only felt cold. It was as if both of her feet were stepping into an ice cave. The cold air snaked up her limbs and bones, climbed up her back, and wrapped around her neck, making her feel suffocated. Stop looking. A large hand reached over and snatched away Xian Yun's phone. Xian Yun looked up mechanically and saw Feiang Jianren's face, full of worry and concern, and enduring pain. Why don't you look? Xian Yun pulled the corner of her mouth and smiled at Feiang Jianren. Then she stretched out her hand. Give me the phone back. Feiang Jianren quickly raised Xian Yun's phone up. He could not bear to see her being attacked and ridiculed by netizens after she suffered such a blow. So he decided not to let her see the news and gossip. You can't turn it off. Xian Yun saw that Feiang Jianren wanted to turn off her phone, so she quickly got up to grab it. She looked nervous. If I turn it off, I won't be able to answer his phone. Feiang Jianren suddenly became irritated. It has been so long and he hasn't given you a phone call. Now he even exposed this kind of news. He is going to marry another woman. Do you still believe him? I believe him. Jian Yun looked into Feiang Jianren's eyes and said seriously. She was not tall enough and could not snatch the phone that Feiang Jianren held high, so she did not snatch it. She only used her pair of misty black eyes to stare at him. I believe in him. These are all fake. Feiang Jianren gritted his teeth. A trace of hostility flashed across his usually gentle, handsome face. He really wanted to grab Jian Yun's shoulder and shake her violently to wake her up. He hoped that Jian Yun would not be stupid again. But when he saw Jian Yun's pair of firm black eyes, the anger in his heart instantly vanished without a trace. Instead, a strange feeling filled his heart, making his entire heart feel stifled and uncomfortable. How could Sister Zhang not see that Feiang Jianren was overly concerned about Jian Yun? Fortunately, she had already closed the door when she came in and isolated herself from the outside world, probing and watching the show. At this moment, she looked at Jian Yun and then looked at Feiang Jianren and could not help but secretly sigh. Give it to me. Xian Yun looked like she was begging. She did not know how she could still be so calm. It must be because of her trust in Hu Liancheng. Yes, she believed him. When Hu Liancheng said he wanted her to wait, she waited. Even if she saw him with other women, as long as he did not admit it personally, she was willing to believe him. You have been with him for too short a time. How do you know he is not that kind of person? Feiang Jianren really did not understand. Jian Yun and Hu Liancheng did not spend much time together. It was not as long as the time he spent with her back then. Why did she trust him so much? At this time, Jian Yun's phone sent a text message. Feiang Jianren was ready to return the phone to Jian Yun. Before handing it over, he subconsciously looked down and frowned. Give me your phone. Xian Yun reached out and took it. She opened the text message with a face full of anxiety and expectation. When she saw it, her face that was full of worry suddenly became sunny. A sweet smile even appeared on the corner of her lips. Fang Jianran, look, I told you it was fake, right? Xian Yun waved her phone. At this moment, she was really happy. Fang Jianran did not say anything. His expression was not good. Sister Zhang was very curious. Is that news fake? Xian Yun was too happy. She directly passed her phone to Sister Zhang. Look. The person who sent this message was called Cheng Muz, and it was written on the text. Sister Jian. Fourth brother asked me to tell you that the news is fake. Don't believe me. It is not convenient for him to contact you at the moment, but don't worry. He is very good. Don't worry. He told you that the matter will be settled very quickly. Sister Zhang did not know Cheng Muzhe, but looking at Jian Yun's expression, she could guess that Cheng Muz should be someone by Hu Liancheng's side. He had a good relationship with them. He was passing the news on behalf of Hu Liancheng. The news is fake. That's great. When young Master Hu comes back, you must fiercely fight back against those who hit you while you were down. Sister Zhang heaved a sigh of relief. She was not like the others. She really liked Jian Yun. She felt that this girl's life was very difficult. She was worthy of being liked by a good man. All right, it's time for class. Let's go. Fang Jianran coughed unnaturally. He put his hand to his lips to cover it. He turned around and took the teaching kit out of the office. Xian Yun suddenly returned to heaven from hell. At this moment, she was floating in the air. Even the pregnancy reaction caused by the smell of oil had disappeared. When she saw Fang Jianran go out, she also got up and took the teaching kit to the classroom. Sister Zhang and Jian Yun went out the door together. There were a few people gathered outside the door in twos and threes. They had been sticking their heads out at the door of Jian Yun's office, wanting to hear what was going on inside. When Fang Jianran walked out, the crowd had already dispersed a little. When they saw Jian Yun now, these people's eyes immediately shot over like torches. They all stared at Jian Yun, but when they saw Jian Yun smiling, they looked at each other in dismay. Was Jian Yun stunned by the news? Her husband is going to marry someone else. Could it be that she should cry now? How can she still laugh? She's pretending to be strong. She was in the bathroom just now. When Xiao Lin and the rest talked about this, Jian Yun was in the cubicle. She heard it. When she walked out, she looked very sad. Sigh. How pitiful. She has only been a rich lady for a few days and is about to be abandoned. I want to see if these women will dare to marry into a wealthy family in the future. Sister Zhang was a step late and heard these unbearable, belittling discussions. Her face darkened and she scolded those people. Stop talking behind people's backs. It is not certain what will happen. I advise you to think about it. Do you want to end up like Fan family? Sister Zhang's words made these people shiver and fear appeared in their eyes. Hu Liangcheng only used half a day to destroy Fan family. The Fan family used to have billions of assets and disappeared in half a day because Fan Xiaolin almost bumped into Jian Yun. Moreover, they saw Hu Liancheng's love for Jian Yun with their own eyes. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was crazy about protecting his wife. How could such feelings be gone just like that? Even if Hu Liancheng had the need for a family marriage, it was common for rich people to have a few more confidants. They were discussing Jian Yun being abandoned just because of a piece of news. If Hu Liancheng still loved her deeply and decided to make her his lover, when Hu Liancheng found out that they were slandering Jian Yun behind her back today, it would be as easy as crushing an ant for Hu Lianch to crush them. Thinking of this, everyone couldn't help but shiver. They didn't dare to say anything else. Compared to the people in Tianla School who were waiting to watch a good show, the atmosphere in the upper echelons of Ming's corporation was weird. Ever since old Master Ming had offended the two elders of Hu family, he had been sick in his bed and stayed in the sanatorium for a while. Now, he had moved back home. However, he was old and had been worried about this matter for so long. He was also worried that Hu family would take revenge. He simply said that he would shut his door and not come out. He had given all the power of Ming's to his two sons. Ming Lixuan was in his 40s. He was usually idle and was not good at doing business. Previously, when the Ming's was on the verge of bankruptcy, it was the result of his big brother, Ming Zhengxuan's bad management. Now that the Ming's finally had a chance to rise, old Master Ming had provoked the Hu family again. At this time, Ming Zhengxuan and Ming Lixuan were in a terrible situation on the top floor of the Ming's building. It's all old Master Ming's fault. We finally managed to get Hu Liancheng to help us. He actually dared to provoke old Master Hu. The Hu family is a top family in the capital. Our Ming family isn't even 1 in 10,000 of the Hu family. It's fine now. Old Master Ming laid down on the bed. He didn't care about anything and just let us handle the mess. What do you think we should do? Ming Lexuan slammed the table angrily. His assistant kept wiping his sweat. His face was full of fear. Clearly, he had just been scolded. For the past 2 weeks, the Mings had been having a hard time. News of old Master Ming angering the Hu family quickly spread. Hu Liansheng was not coming back. The Mings' shares dropped sharply, and the collaborators broke off their contracts one after another. Many of the ongoing projects were interrupted. The Ming's glory had turned into a plague that no one could avoid after Hu Liansheng took over. This made the 2 brothers of the Mings, who were still enjoying their vacation overseas, feel troubled. What else can we do? Let's continue to support the company. We'll spend some time together in the next few days to see if we can go to the imperial capital to find Hu Liansheng and apologize to him. After all, he has signed a year's contract with our Mings. It's reasonable to say that he should have an explanation. Ming Zhengshuan pinched the space between his eyebrows, feeling a headache coming on. Explanation? Ming Lixuan sneered. He said, "Big brother, don't be naive." He continued, "Hu Liansheng doesn't need to give us an explanation for what he's doing. We need to give him an explanation. Back then, he was willing to accept us from the Mings, and it was our family's good fortune. This old man's brain is broken. He actually dared to provoke this great god." Ming Lexuan was especially angry when this matter was mentioned. Because of old man Ming's mistake, the company's benefits fell greatly. The companies that cooperated well refused to cooperate with them. If they couldn't think of a way to save the company would face bankruptcy. And now, the family had a falling out. Speaking of the old man, I really want to scold him. Damn it! This old pervert still likes to sleep with women at such an old age. It's fine if he's fooling around with girls in the company, but he doesn't even let his own family off. Ming Lixuan was so angry that he slammed the table, shaking the teacup on the table until it was poured down. Ming Zhengshuan also furrowed his brows tightly. Clearly, he was also very irritated. Chang Wan and I are having a heated argument right now. Bing Bing might not be my biological daughter, but I have raised her for more than 10 years. I have always treated her as my daughter. This old pervert actually reached out his claws towards my child. A good girl was ruined by him just like that. As Ming Lexuan spoke, he suddenly stood up, took off his jacket and threw it on the ground. He walked around the table with his hands on his waist. Clearly, he was extremely angry. The old man said that Bing Bing took the initiative to look for him. Ming Zhengshuan was still pinching the space between his eyebrows. A red mark appeared on his forehead. From afar, it looked like a huge rouge had been lit on his glabella. He said, "Xia Bing Bing's brain is not good. You know, when Hu Liansheng just arrived, she chased after him every day. She even spread that she is Hu Liansheng's real girlfriend everywhere. Even if her brain is not good, it is still not a reason for an old pervert to touch his own granddaughter." Ming Lixuan was even more angry. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He said, he and his granddaughter rolled onto the bed. "If it weren't for the fact that he's my father, I would have stabbed him with a knife. Forget it, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's think about how to get through this current crisis." Ming Zhengshuan really felt his head swell. His mind was buzzing as if it was going to explode. Ming Lixuan scratched his hair impatiently to force himself to calm down. But how could he calm down? The Hu family isn't peaceful right now. I heard that Hu Chengfeng is in control. I wonder if Hu Xiangqian and his wife have taken the wrong medicine. They are both on Hu Chengfeng's side. Ming Lexuan's assistant, Little Wang, interrupted. "Why don't we help Hu Chengfeng? Didn't he come to look for the old man before?" The two of them had a long, secret conversation. Ming Zhengshuan put his hand down. His brows were still furrowed, and he had a bitter look on his face. "Big brother, I advise you not to learn from the old man. His brain isn't good, so don't be a fool." Ming Lixuan sneered, and he didn't conceal the ridicule on his face at all. Become Hu Chengfeng's ally? Don't even think about it. Hu Liansheng has the Liao family backing him. The Hu family is a top family in front of us, but in front of the Liao family, they are a nouveau riche. The news this time is an omen. Besides fighting for power, what else does Hu Chengfeng have? Are you saying that the marriage between Hu Liansheng and the young lady of the Mu family is the request of the Liao family? Ming Zhengshuan's heart shook when he heard this. He asked, hesitantly, "Do you still need to say that?" Ming Lixuan's brows twitched. He stared at Ming Zhengshuan with an expression of disbelief. If it wasn't for his playful nature and his dislike of being restrained, The old man would have let Ming Zhengshuan take over the Mings. But now it seemed like this big brother of his really wasn't good at doing business. He couldn't even see through such a simple principle. Then what should we do now? Ming Zhengshuan tightly clenched his hands. What else can we do? We can only wait. Ming Lexuan pulled out a chair and sat down again. His eyes narrowed as he suddenly raised his hand and beckoned. Assistant Lil Wang hurriedly walked over. During this period of time, pay more attention to Jian Yun's movements. If possible, seize every opportunity to express our goodwill to her. Ming Lexuan instructed in a deep voice. Yes. Jian Yun? Hu Liancheng's wife? Ming Zhengshuan frowned again. He did not understand why Ming Lixuan was doing this. Why do you want to be nice to her? Hu Liancheng is going to marry the young lady of the Mu family. If it's the Liao family's request, the Liao family will definitely let this woman leave. Big brother, you think the problem is still so shallow. Ming Lexuan gave Ming Zhengshuan a sideways glance and did not explain further. At the same time, Jian Dongmeng was in a rage. The wine bottle in the house was all over the floor. He kept calling Jian Yun, but it was not that no one answered, but it could not be picked up. At this time, Lin Lanlin's call came in. Dad, did you see the news? Hu Liancheng wants to marry the young lady of Mu family. What about Yan Yun? Lin Lanlin seemed to be concerned about Jian Yun, but her tone contained a trace of schadenfreude. Lin Lanlin was the assistant of the chairman. Old man Ming was sick at home, and the few assistant of the chairman were scattered to other departments. However, the internal department of Ming's was currently in a mess, so Lin Lanlin had nothing to do these days. Originally, she had been waiting for Hu Liancheng to come find her. That day, outside the Peach Blossom Dock, she could tell at a glance that Hu Liancheng was actually interested in her. She noticed that he looked at her a few more times, and when she interrupted him, he did not interrupt her. On the other hand, he was very cold to other women. However, after waiting for almost 2 weeks, Lin Lanlin did not receive any promotion from Hu Liancheng. Instead, she heard that he had returned to the capital and was at a disadvantage in the internal strife of the Hu family. Now, the situation was completely under Hu Chengfeng's control. When Lin Lanlin heard this news, her entire body trembled. She hesitated once again about her decision. She had followed Hu Chengfeng for so many years. Although she was only a tool to warm the bed and one of his many women, she more or less understood Hu Chengfeng's character. This man was very stubborn, and in some ways, he was almost perverted. If he found out that she had a different heart and liked him as her enemy, even if she was a woman he did not want, he would not let her go. Moreover, she had entered the Mings back then because Hu Chengfeng wanted to plant a spy beside Hu Liancheng. However, she was not chosen by Hu Liancheng. Instead, she entered the chairman's office. Because of this, Hu Chengfeng felt that she was useless and had completely given up on her. That was why Lin Lanlin did not dare to ask about Hu Liancheng anymore after that. Not to mention Xiao wanted to replace Jian Yun as Hu Liancheng's woman. She was even glad that she did not listen to Jian Dongmeng's words and took the initiative to hook up with Hu Liancheng. Otherwise, she might not even have the life to stand here right now. When Jian Dongmeng heard Lin Lanlin's words, the anger in his heart was slightly extinguished. Lanlin, you are really good to me. If Jian Yun listened to me, how would she end up like this? He continued now. Hu Liancheng is going to marry a woman of equal status. How can a woman with no background be able to fight against the Mu family? Jian Yun made me angry. If she had listened to me earlier, at least she would have gotten money. Now everything is over. Dad, don't talk about Jian Yun like that. She has been so outstanding since she was young. It is normal for her to be arrogant. Moreover, the matter of Hu Liancheng marrying the young lady of the Mu family has not been confirmed yet. Perhaps it's just some gossip outside. Although Lin Lanlin said so, in reality, she hoped that Hu Liancheng would shake Jian Yun off more than anyone else. Why was Jian Yun so lucky to get Hu Liancheng's love? And she had to submit to the devil, even old man Ming, who was covered in old age spots? She was not worse than Jian Yun. She even came back from abroad. Why did those people look down on her? Su Haiyang even said she was a wild chicken and would never become a true phoenix. Lin Lanlin got angry when she thought of this. She was now waiting to see Jian Yun's miserable appearance of being abandoned by Hu Liancheng. Her excellence is because of my money. That stinky girl doesn't admit her relationship with me now. She has no conscience like that shameless mother of hers. Jian Yun deserves to be dumped. Jian Dongming could not listen to this. As long as he thought that his daughter, whom he had spent so many years nurturing and caring for, was actually someone else's seed, He would feel anger rising from his hair. He really wanted to strangle Yang Fei to death. Dad, what should we do now? Lin Lanlin stopped when she asked, because she knew very well that Jian Dongmeng would go on and on whenever he talked about what happened back then. She was sick of listening to him. That wretched girl won't answer my phone. Lanlin, what do you think? Xian Dongming asked. He was also annoyed by the news that Hu Liancheng wanted to marry the young lady of Mu family. If it was true, then the creditors would definitely come to ask for the money he borrowed under the name of Hu Liancheng's father-in-law. Since the money was used up, where would he get the money to repay the debt? I don't know either. By the way, Dad, remember not to mention that matter again? Lin Lanlin hurriedly greeted Jian Dongming. She liked Hu Liancheng, but the situation was unclear. If Hu Chengfeng found out about it, then her life might be in danger. That man was the most ruthless. He could do anything. I know. Xian Dongming replied impatiently. He would have thought that he had introduced Lin Lanlin to Hu Liancheng because of money. But now that everything had gone down the drain, he could not be bothered to care who Lin Lanlin liked. Then I'll go to work. Lin Lanlin made this call to tell Jian Dongming that their previous plan must not be mentioned again. She could not afford to offend Hu Chengfeng or the Mu family that Hu Liancheng was going to marry. Lanlin, didn't you say that Hu Chengfeng from the Hu family is someone you know? Either you go and show him your goodwill. Jian Dongming sat on the bed and scratched the sores on his legs. His eyes were full of scheming. Lin Lanlin trembled when she heard him. If Jian Dongming were to face Lin Lanlin now, he would find her face covered in hatred and impatience. Lin Lanlin could not help but feel her hair stand on end when she thought of Hu Chengfeng's torture methods. Lin Lanlin had actually thought of looking for Hu Chengfeng, but when she thought of Hu Chengfeng's methods and the way he tortured women without showing any mercy, she felt a shiver in her heart. In those few years in the US, she had been living a happy life on the surface, because Hu Chengfeng had given her a lot of money. But no one knew how cruel that pervert was. Women were just toys in his eyes. That was why Lin Lanlin felt so envious and jealous when she saw Hu Liancheng pampering Jian Yun like that. She wanted to replace him, but Hu Chengfeng was already tired of her. After she returned to the country, he had only come to look for her once, but he did not ask her to serve him like before. Now, his temperament was even more volatile. Did she still want to look for him? Would he still care about her? Lin Lanlin was a little uncertain. She decided to wait and see. If Hu Chengfeng really succeeded in becoming the patriarch of Hu family and became the helmsman of Hu family, then she must follow him. Even if she was only his mistress, she would at least be able to enjoy endless wealth for the rest of her life. The little money she earned from working hard as a small clerk was really not enough. Moreover, she needed to help Lin Delong. He had committed the crime of intentionally injuring others and had been escaping. He had not been caught until now. Last month, Lin Delong had asked someone to contact her to ask her for money. Lin Lanlin did not want to bother with him, but she was afraid that Lin Delong would find her directly. She did not want her reputation to be affected. Having a mother who was arrested had already made people despise her. In addition, there was a big brother murderer. Once the news spread, those rich people would definitely not marry a woman like her. Most people would shrink back. Lanlin? Lin Lanlin, did you hear what I said? Lin Lanlin was only distracted for a moment before she heard Jian Dongming calling her. She could not help pulling her hair off in frustration. Hu Liancheng abandoned Jian Yun and wanted to marry a well-bred girl. Then her goal of getting close to Hu Liancheng was fruitless. Jian Dongming was no longer of any use to her, and her tone was no longer as good as before. I heard it. Then, when can you give me money? I don't have money to eat anymore. Jian Dongming said shamelessly. Dad, I gave you 3,000 yuan last week. Did you gamble again? I don't have much money. My mom needs money too. Don't gamble anymore. Lin Lanlin suppressed the anger and annoyance in her heart and said patiently, I know. Give me some money to eat first. I don't want to gamble anymore. Jian Dongming perfunctorily replied. He was afraid that Lin Lanlin would say something to him again. He exhorted Lin Lanlin to quickly call the money and quickly hung up the phone. Lin Lanlin was so angry that she threw the phone onto the table. She bit her lips and her eyes were full of coldness. She thought for a while and picked up the phone again. She checked the money in her bank account. When she saw it, she immediately frowned. Her savings were getting lesser and lesser. The Ming's salary was not enough at all. Jian Dongming and Lin Delong kept asking her for money. Lin Lanlin suddenly felt a headache. A few days passed in a row. The news of Hu Liancheng getting engaged to Mu Wanru did not decrease. Instead, it covered the sky and covered the earth. All the major media outlets and websites were reporting about this matter. In a short period of time, it swept across the entire country. In the beginning, Jian Yun was still able to firmly tell herself that this matter was fake. Hu Liancheng could not betray her. Even if the internet was full of pictures of Hu Liancheng and Mu Wanru together, Jian Yun could still turn a blind eye to it. However, the people around did not think so. When Jian Yun went to school now, she would find those people pointing at her, or gathering in groups of 3 or 5. When they saw her, they would immediately scatter like birds with their faces. Even Sister Zhang and Yu Zhenghui, who were in the office, looked at Jian Yun with sympathy. Jian Yun looked calm on the surface, but only she knew that she could not sleep at night. She kept her eyes open until dawn. Jian Yun did not want to see the news, but she could not help wanting to know about Hu Liancheng's recent situation. Ever since he came back from the imperial city that day, he did not call her again and did not contact her at all. Jian Yun called him countless times but quickly hung up. She did not even dare to listen to whether the call was connected or not, because she did not know if it was inconvenient for him to answer the phone. Was there someone watching him? She was afraid that the call she made would ruin his plans. During this period of time, Jian Yun felt that every minute and every second was torture. However, there were even worse things waiting for her. She saw the 1-month deadline that Liao Shibing gave her. There was only 1 week left. She did not wait for Hu Liancheng, but she waited for Granny Liao. That night, when Jian Yun just got home from work, she saw a few people sitting at home. They were Granny Liao and 2 young men. Grandma. Jian Yun was stunned when she saw Granny Liao. Then she immediately put down the things in her hands and rushed over. Her tears immediately came down. Grandma, you are here. You are finally here. Granny Liao was originally sitting there and talking to the 2 young people. When she saw Jian Yun, she immediately stood up and grabbed Jian Yun's hand that was reaching over and tightly held it. When she saw Jian Yun become so thin in just a few short weeks, her eyes immediately became teary. Yun, it has been hard on you for this period of time. Jian Yun desperately shook her head and looked around as she urgently asked, Grandma, where is Liancheng? Is he back? Granny Liao wiped her eyes and avoided Jian Yun's eager gaze. She shook her head. No. He did not come back. Jian Yun could not hide her disappointment. The light in her eyes instantly faded. Miss Jian, I am Liao Kashine. This is my cousin, Liao Kafa. The older of the 2 young men stood up at this moment and looked down at Jian Yun. Young master, young master. Zheng Yong, who was following Jian Yun, greeted them respectfully when he saw them. Jian Yun had almost figured out the Liao family people these days. Now that she heard their names, she knew their identities. Liao Kexin was Liao Shigong's eldest son, and Liao Kefayan was Liao Shibing's 2nd son. Miss Jia, have you thought about it? Liao Kefayan's attitude was very arrogant. From the moment Jian Yun came in, he looked at Jian Yun from head to toe. In his heart, he was very disapproving. He only felt that the woman in front of him was haggard and her complexion was very bad. There were heavy, dark circles under her eyes. She was not as beautiful as she said. He did not even know what Hu Liancheng liked about her. Jian Yun bit her lips. Just now she saw Granny Liao was too excited and did not think much about it. Now that she realized the identity of these 2 people, she naturally knew the purpose of the Liao family sending these people. Jian Yun's heart inexplicably tightened. Miss Jian, there is only a week until the deadline. The reason you did not make a decision was because you wanted to wait for cousin Liancheng to come back. I advise you to give up on this idea. He will not come back to see you, Liao Kexin said coldly. In that case, what else do you have to worry about? With only a week's time, can a weak woman like me, who has no one to rely on, have any other variables? When Jian Yun heard this, the corners of her mouth curled into a mocking smile. She raised her eyes, and her eyes that were pitch black beneath her long and slender mascara were fixed on Liao Kexin. Liao Kexin never expected that Jian Yun would actually dare to attack him. His expression instantly turned ugly, and his gaze was fierce as he stood up in an instant. Woman, don't fight me. Liao Kexin was also from the military, and he carried a fierce aura unique to soldiers. Although his character was tough, his heart was not bad, and he usually had a sense of justice. But he did not like Jian Yun from the beginning. Because of Jian Yun, Hu Liancheng had always stayed in Qinghu City. He thought that Jian Yun was the reason why Hu Liancheng became so weak, so his attitude towards Jian Yun was naturally not good. How would I dare to go against you guys? Xia Yun coldly looked at Liu Kexin. She was not scared by Liu Kexin's appearance. Instead, she sneered and said, "If you use my mother's safety to threaten me to give me face, then I really have to thank you for thinking so highly of me." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Liu Kexin said angrily. "When has our Liu family ever done such dirty things? If you dare to talk nonsense again, you will slander the reputation of the Liu family. Even if you are Hu Liancheng's woman, I will beat you up. Come and hit me." Xian Yun also stood up. Although she was petite, her eyes flashed with a fierce light. She pointed at her own chest and said angrily, "You dare to do it, but you don't dare to admit it. So this is the style of Liu family. Don't think that I don't dare to hit you." What Liu Kexin could not tolerate the most was that his family was being questioned, especially when he looked down on the women who questioned the unethical behavior of the Liu family. At that time, he was so angry that he wanted to slap Zhang Yun. "Stop!" Granny Liao, who had been silent the whole time, suddenly snapped. Liu Kefan and Zhang Yang also attacked at the same time. One grabbed Liu Kexin's wrist, and the other blocked between Jian Yun and Liu Kexin. "Big brother." Liu Kefan tightly grabbed Liu Kexin's wrist and said with a frown, "Don't forget your mission in Green Lake." Liu Kefan was young and had already been appointed as the mayor's secretary in the city government. Compared to the hot-tempered Liu Kexin, Liu Kefan was much calmer. He knew very well that with Hu Liancheng's love for Jian Yun, if Hu Liancheng found out that Liu Kexin dared to hit Jian Yun, then with Hu Liancheng's temper, he would definitely beat Liu Kexin to death. He might even cause trouble in Liu family. If such a thing happened, all of the Liu family's previous efforts would be in vain. "Let go." Liu Kexin's eyes almost popped out of his eye sockets. His eyes were bloodshot. He freed himself from Liu Kefan's hand and tried to push Zhang Yang, who was protecting Jian Yun, away. "Leave. Don't forget who you are. Young Master Liu, I am under orders to protect Miss Jia. I will not let you hurt her." Zhang Yang's expression turned cold. He knew that this young Master Liu was a colonel rank officer at a young age. He was also the eldest grandson of the Liu family. His future was limitless. It would not benefit him if he provoked him. Moreover, he was a famous martial maniac. He was not to be trifled with. He would attack someone if he did not agree. But Zhang Yang would rather offend him than let Jian Yun get hurt. He had clearly seen how good this girl was these days. Her life was not easy either. She had forced herself to endure these days until even he felt sorry for her situation. Liu Kexin did not expect that Zhang Yang would dare to stop him. He reached out his hand and pushed Zhang Yang fiercely. "If you dare to stop me again, I will beat you up as well." Granny Liao saw that the atmosphere had become tense because of Liu Kexin. He did not listen to her words, and she was instantly furious. She slapped Liu Kexin on the head. "You want to hit others all the time. Do you want to hit me too?" The Liao family style was very strict. It was necessary to respect the elders. Granny Liao also had great prestige. Even the leader of the Liao family had to respect her. Liu Kexin immediately became listless after being slapped, but he still had to defend himself. "Grandma, this woman doesn't know what's good for her. She even slandered our Liu family. If she doesn't teach us a lesson, do we let her spread it?" "She didn't slander us. Brother, what she said is the truth." Liu Kefan spoke at this moment. His skin was very white and he looked handsome. He stood with Liu Kexin, who was a tough guy. It was obvious that he was more convincing. "Miss Jian, we are sorry to transfer your mother to the hospital without your permission. But don't worry, we will not hurt your mother. So, if I don't sign the divorce agreement, you won't let my mother go?" Jian Yun pushed Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang stood a little to the side and moved aside, but his entire body was tense. He was ready to deal with Liu Kexin at any time. "What are you guys talking about?" Liu Kexin opened his eyes wide, but no one paid him any attention. "Girl, Grandma has let you down, but this crisis is too big. If we don't handle it well, even Liu family will be implicated. If there is a chance, we will not let Liancheng separate from you." She continued, "Little girl, blame Grandma for being useless." Granny Liu sighed. She did not answer Jian Yun's phone all this time. She just did not know how to face her. Now that she said it in front of her face, it made her feel much more relaxed. Jian Yun bit her lips tightly. Tears were already rolling in her eyes, but she gritted her teeth and endured it. "Grandma, where is Hu Liancheng now?" Of course, Hu Liancheng is preparing for the engagement ceremony with Mu Wenru now. Liu Kexin's face fell one after another. His head was full of anger, and he could not help but want to provoke Jian Yun. "Shut up! If you dare to say another word, scram back to the capital immediately." Granny Liao's face darkened as she shot a cold look at Liao Kexin. Liao Kexin muttered something in his throat, but he still did not have the courage to resist Granny Liao. Finally, he lowered his head and sat back on the sofa, not saying a word. "Miss Jian, there are some things that the less you know, the better for you," Liao Kexin said in a deep voice. Liao Kexin is right. There are some things you shouldn't ask. Granny Liao wiped the corner of her eyes and avoided Jian Yun's pleading eyes. "I really like you. If there is any hope, I cannot joke about Lian Cheng's marriage. Girl, just sign it. It will be good for everyone." "Good for everyone?" "Grandma. What about me? Did anyone think about me? Do you want to sacrifice me and Hu Liancheng for the sake of your family?" Xian Yun's lips were trembling. She was so angry that she could not control herself. The light in her eyes was also drowned by the surging darkness. Her voice was shaking and her hands were shaking. It was like a small boat in the sea that had been attacked by a storm and was about to flip over. Don't flatter yourself. Although the Mu family is not as good as the Liao family, they are not inferior to the Hu family. How could Hu Liancheng and Mu Wanru's marriage be a sacrifice? In terms of sacrifice, it's just a sacrifice for you. Liao Kexin looked at Jian Yun coldly and did not hide the ridicule in his words. "If you dare say another word, I will ask your grandfather to send you to the island to camp for a year." Granny Liao saw that Liao Kexin kept speaking rudely and was extremely angry. However, she also knew that this child did not have any bad intentions. It was just that his mouth was bad. He thought that Jian Yun was greedy for Hu Liancheng's money, so he did not like Jian Yun very much. This time, he was the one who took the initiative to come. Who knew what he said? Every word he said made people want to hit him. "Granny Liao, are you biased towards her?" What I said was the truth. This woman was indeed ugly, and her family background was not good. She was not worthy of Hu Liancheng at all. She must have played some trick to confuse Hu Liancheng. When Liao Kexin heard Granny Liao's threat, he immediately stopped. "You still want to talk?" Granny Liao suddenly slapped Liao Kexin's face and angrily pointed at the door. "Get out!" "Granny Liao, you hit me?" Liao Kexin covered his face and looked at Granny Liao in shock. "Get out!" Granny Liao's anger did not diminish. "Yang, go out and calm down first," Liao Kexin also advised. Liao Kexin had thick skin. That slap did not hurt. It was just that he did not understand why Granny Liao would hit him in front of outsiders. This made him lose face, but he did not dare to contradict Granny Liao. He could only glare fiercely at Jian Yun and say vicious words. "Remember?" In the large living room, Liao Kexin's heavy footsteps were far away. The atmosphere was a little stagnant for a moment. In silence, Liao Kexin said to Jian Yun, "Miss Jian, my brother is a straightforward person. He does not have any ill intentions. Do not mind." Jian Yun's lips curled into a mocking smile. "Yes, you have money and power. Now you're just shouting and shouting to kill. Even if he really killed someone, it is just a joke. He has no ill intentions." "Of course I do not mind." Her words were blunt and full of sarcasm. The corner of Liao Kexin's eyes twitched, and he endured it, because he also understood that they were at fault first. In addition, Liao Kexin repeatedly ridiculed Jian Yun today. Everyone had a temper. "Girl, I came today to tell you about this matter. Grandma knows that it is Grandma who has let you down. But don't worry, even if it is, don't worry. You and Liancheng are not husband and wife anymore. And always Grandma's granddaughter. Grandma will never let anyone bully you." Granny Liao grabbed Jian Yun's hand and her heart was filled with pain, but she suppressed it. She made a promise. "You can tell Grandma anything you want." "I don't want anything." Jian Yun shook her head and slowly pulled her hand out. She slumped onto the sofa and the smile on her face became bitter. "You guys can go." "Girl, you." Granny Liao was a little anxious, but facing Jian Yun, there were some things she could not say. She could only look at Liao Kexin. "Miss Jian." Liao Kexin frowned. They came to King Hu today because they were ordered to bring Jian Yun back to sign the divorce agreement. But now it seemed that Jian Yun still did not show any signs of letting go. "Isn't it not time yet? What are you guys in a hurry for? Are you afraid that I will run away? My mother is still in your hands. Where can I run to?" Jian Yun raised her eyelids. Her long eyelashes trembled, revealing a pair of dark eyes that were deep like a cold pond. At this moment, Her eyes were cold, as if there were traces of cold air leaking out. Just one look actually made Liao Kefeian feel a chill run down his spine. Liao Kefeian did not dare to make the decision, and looked at Granny Liao. Seeing Granny Liao nod, he took out a business card and handed it to Jian Yun and said, "Have you thought about calling me?" Jian Yun did not take the business card, and Liao Kefeian directly placed it on the coffee table. "Goodbye." Liao Kefeian gave Zhang Yong a look. Zhang Yong understood and followed him out. Granny Liao did not move. She kept looking at Jian Yun as if she had something to say, but in the end, she did not say anything. She only left a sigh. "Yun, I am leaving. If there is anything that cannot be solved, you can make a phone call to Kev Fan." After Granny Liao finished speaking, she also walked out. When Jian Yun was the only one left in the living room, she quietly sat there. Suddenly, she slowly hugged her shoulders and buried her face in her arms. "Hu Liangsheng, where are you? If you don't come back, I really can't hold on any longer." Granny Liao walked to the door and still could not help but look back. When she looked, she saw Jian Yun's face buried in her arms and her shoulders lightly trembling. Her eyes immediately turned sour. She turned around and quickly walked a few steps and ran out. "Granny Liao." Liao Kexin came over and looked inside. He immediately became irritable. "If you want me to say it, just take her to sign it." "Why are you so meddlesome? We came all the way here personally, and she didn't give us any face. This woman really doesn't know how to appreciate favors." "Shut up." Granny Liao glared at Liao Kexin and pushed him away. "Yang, if you continue to do things without thinking, Lu will come back and treat you." Liao Kefeian also had a headache over Liao Kexin's straightforward mind. This bastard did not have the slightest bit of compassion for women. No wonder he could not find a wife at such a young age. "If you dare to say one more word to second brother, I will beat you up." Liao Kexin swung his fist fiercely at Liao Kefan. "Both of you, go away." Granny Liao walked a few steps and saw that these two were still bickering behind her, so she stopped and turned her head and said angrily. Liao Kexin and Liao Kefeian quickly followed. At this time, Granny Liao did not leave. She looked at Zhang Yong, then at the living room, and sighed. "I see that you are quite protective of her. You should get along with her well. Let her go." "I will." Zhang Yong nodded. "Your mission is really bad. I asked you to monitor her and ask her to sign it. How long has it been? You, a dignified police captain, actually became someone's bodyguard. I despise you." Liao Kexin sneered at Zhang Yong. Zhang Yong could not be bothered with Liao Kexin. He nodded at Liao Kefan and turned around to go in. "Let's go." Granny Liao saw that Liao Kexin was so talkative that he still wanted to express his opinion. She immediately scolded him and asked Liao Kefeian to drag Liao Kexin away. On the other side, Zhang Yong entered the living room and sat on the sofa opposite Jian Yun. He handed over a tissue. They left. Jian Yun paused for a moment and raised her head to take the tissue, but it was of no use. She just lowered her head and looked at the tissue blankly. Her expression was a little wooden. "Do you want some water?" "I'll pour it for you." Zhang Yong stood up. "Why are you so nice to me?" Jian Yun suddenly raised her eyes and her gaze became sharp. "Because I have experienced everything that happened to you." Zhang Yong smiled. "I understand how you feel now." "No, you don't understand." Jian Yun shook her head. There was a strange look on her face. "Ever since I was young, the amount of humiliation I have suffered is not as much as in the past few days. I never knew that in the eyes of those powerful people, I am so lowly. I am like an ant that can be easily crushed. I don't need to care about its pride or whether it is willing or not." Zhang Yong sat down again and frowned at Jian Yun. "Do you think you are lowly?" Jian Yun's eyes became blank. She seemed to be immersed in her own thoughts. After a while, she said, "I have always thought that people are born equal. There is no distinction between high and low. Since I was young, although I was not born in a wealthy family, the education I received was to be an upright and elegant person. But now, I do not know how to be an upright and elegant person. Am I wrong? So, you plan to give up?" Zhang Yong crossed his hands on his knees and put some strength into his fingers. Jian Yun was silent for a while before she said, "I am very hesitant now. I have a feeling that I am powerless." "Then are you going to yield?" Zhang Yong narrowed his eyes. Jian Yun put her hands into her hair and shook her head. "I don't know." She really did not know what to do. She was very clear that the Liao family was still very polite to her. If she continued to deal with them negatively, they would definitely not sit back and do nothing. In the face of absolute power, An aunt like her didn't even have the right to speak. Moreover, her mother was still in their hands. Actually, Jian Yun had a bad feeling the day she came back from the capital. That was why she called Yang Fei and asked her to finish her rehabilitation treatment in the capital and return to King Hu as soon as possible. However, when Bao Yanran went to the rehabilitation hospital the next day to visit Yang Fei, she was told that Yang Fei had already been taken away. Bao Yanran thought that Jian Yun asked Hu Liancheng to do it, so she only asked Jian Yun. Jian Yun did not say much at that time and only vaguely responded. No one called Jian Yun. Yang Fei's phone could not reach her, but Jian Yun knew in her heart that this was done by Liao family. They wanted her to make a choice between her mother and Hu Liancheng. One was to raise her mother, and the other was her husband. How would she choose? Sang Yong also wanted to sigh. If he did not owe Hu Liancheng a favor, how could he, a captain of the police, lower himself to be a bodyguard and a brother who knew his heart? However, in this situation, if he was Jian Yun, he did not know what to do. When I was very young, my father died because of a car accident. It was my mother who raised me. At that time, we were very poor and could not even eat. My mother went out to work during the day and at night to pick up trash to sell money for me to study. I studied very hard and my results were always good. But because of my poor family, I was always looked down upon by others. At that time, I also felt that I was as lowly as an ant and anyone could step on my head. Sang Yong scratched his hair. Now that he thought about the past, he still had a feeling of anger. The scene of being bullied and despised was still vivid in his mind. What happened after that? Jian Yun asked. Actually, Jian Yun did not need to guess to know that Zhang Yang must have made a comeback after that. Otherwise, he would not have appeared as the youngest police captain today. I met someone. He gave me a lot of help, and also helped me achieve today. Zhang Yang did not mention it in detail. He casually mentioned it in a stroke. Jian Yun did not ask any more questions. Actually, I'm telling you this because I want you to know that only by becoming stronger can you gain respect. This is what I personally experienced. Sang Yang said in a deep voice. I don't have that talent. I can't be a captain like you. Jian Yun laughed at herself. You play the piano so well. Why don't you be the strongest in this field? Sang Yang stopped. Jian Yun heard him and raised her pretty eyebrows. She looked at Zhang Yang thoughtfully. Zhang Yang grinned and smiled innocently. Actually, you don't have to care about what Liao Keshan said. Compared to his twin brother, Liao Qi, he is a fool. His words never go through his brain. He is straightforward. In Liao family, he is often beaten up badly. Also, his mother's surname is Mu. Jian Yun frowned and nodded. Thank you. Zhang Yang curled the corner of his mouth and replied with Jian Yun's smile. There were some things that he could only stop at the moment. This was his way of repaying Hu Liancheng for helping him back then. A few more days passed. Seeing that the deadline was getting closer and closer, Jian Yun still went to work normally every day. When she came back, she either read books in her study or practiced her zither in the greenhouse behind her. It was as if she did not care about the big news about Hu Liancheng's marriage with the Mu family, which was getting more and more intense in the outside world. Even Zhang Yang could not help but admire Jian Yun's composure, even though he knew how much suffering she was feeling right now. This afternoon, Jian Yun didn't have any classes and came back early from school. Zhang Yang drove her home. When they were about to reach the villa, he suddenly picked up a phone and told Jian Yun that he had something to take care of and needed to leave for a few days. After sending Jian Yun to the door of the villa, he took a taxi and left. Jian Yun did not think much about it. After parking the car, she walked towards the greenhouse behind the main house. Although it was midsummer now, the greenhouse had many precious plants and an expensive piano, so it was designed with a constant temperature setting. It was very comfortable. Along the way, the villa was quiet. However, other than the gardener who came every morning to trim the plants, the other maids would not come here, so Jian Yun did not find it strange. Until she saw that the glass door of the greenhouse was not locked. She reached out to push it, but did not push it open. She frowned but did not think too much. This time when she pushed the door again, she used some strength. Who knew that the glass door was suddenly pulled open from the inside? Jian Yun only had time to cry out and fell headfirst. She was about to fall. Jian Yun was shocked at that time and subconsciously reached out to protect her stomach. However, the expected pain did not come. Instead, a strong male aura surged into her nose. It was like fine silk wrapping around Jian Yun layer by layer. Then, her strong arms tightly wrapped around her. Jian Yun was stunned. At this moment, she felt her mind go blank. It was as if time had stopped, and she could not think at all. It was only when someone kissed Jianyun's skin with hot lips that she came back to her senses. Her mind began to flow into thoughts. The mist in her eyes lingered, and suddenly gathered into tears. Why did you only come back now? You never came back. I really don't want you anymore. Jianyun suddenly reached out and hugged the person she had been thinking about for the past few days. Her voice carried a sobbing tone. This sentence sounded like a complaint, and only Hu Liancheng could understand the thick and irreconcilable longing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hu Liancheng fiercely kissed Jianyun's face, her lips, her tears. At this moment, his heart was aching. He could only tightly hug Jianyun. Only by hugging her could he feel fulfillment. Jianyun laid on Hu Liancheng's chest and did not know how long she had cried for. She just cried desperately, as if she wanted to vent all the worries and grievances and humiliation she had suffered over the past few days.